Shem Schroeck, who is an amazing vocalist in his own right, talks about a vocalist he thinks is otherworldly, a singer who is in a lane of his own, who really can't be replicated on this edition of Rock History Music. Did John Anderson influence you as a singer? I mean, you're very different singers, but
just aspirationally, because they can never do that. You know, like you said, the elf voice that's from another planet, right? He's from that voice and that sound and that texture of his is otherworldly. You know, and even the guys that can emulate him and do really fantastic job, like John Davison, just nails that show. He's wonderful. But that thing that only John, that fingerprint of his vocally, he wasn't influential to me. I just stood in awe, like, wow. And I still do. I mean, I listened to all those records. I was listening to Topographic Oceans the other day and just going, what a sound.
He's disappointed that people don't get that album. I know they came out of a really a popular era when that album came out. And I said, does it disappoint? He says, it disappoints me that people, he says, it's right there. Go back and revisit it. Give it another shot.
It's Alan's first studio album.
Yeah.
And there's so much music that comes off the vinyl of that record. There's so much music. It's, there weren't any songs, as you know, but man, what a great collection of tones and music and ideas. You can hear the experimentation. That's the golden age that we'll never see again in the record business. As far as the record business, people are creating all the time. We're getting back to that independently, but at the time of the record business being an industry, it was go make a record and we'll see you in 4 months.
Did I tell you Dylan Howe? I think I told you Dylan Howe told me that his father wouldn't let him listen to Led Zeppelin because there was that competition, even though they were totally different bands, Led Zeppelin and Yes on the same label. And at home he wasn't. He says he doesn't care now, but
all right.
How is it? How is it working out of the house? I mean, are you? I would think your father might have given you this. I don't know, or your parents in general. Do you have that discipline? Because Shannon, well, you know Shannon. Shannon was one of those people that did her homework on Friday night. She never waited till Sunday, and she is a woman that does that in her life now. She was selling $3 million houses before she left here, before we moved out here, but. How was it back then for you, and how is it now as far as self-discipline?
Self-discipline has never been one of my problems. I'm kind of just, I was raised in a reward-based household where, you know, when you have 5 horses, 3 cows, and your job is to feed them twice a day, first thing when you get up in the morning, put your boots on, get out there in the cold or whatever it is. And then first thing you do when you get home from school, there is no playtime until your chores are done. So I almost kind of do the same thing in my personal life now. I get things done that I need to get out of the way, and then I reward myself with the pleasures of life when they come. But you got to get the job done first. That's just how I grew up.
You're a jack of a lot of different trades within music. There's a lot of variety there. I mean, how far back could you do all these things? Has this been most of your adult life? I mean, you travel with your classical thing, and I'm so sad that COVID stopped us from seeing you in Calgary. But how far back could you do all these things? You're like Batman with a tickle trunk and all the belts.
Pretty far back. I've been playing drums since I can remember. Yeah. Piano and keyboards came at probably age 6, 7 because my dad had a Hammond B3 in the house, so I was always messing around on that.
He had a Hammond B3 in the house.
Yeah. He had a Rhodes. He had like all the Korg stuff before Korg was a household name in music, and he had the synths and a home studio, so he had a lot of that stuff. He had vibraphones in the house, and then bass guitar. He bought a bass for my brother. I think I've told you this, and I just picked it up. It came naturally. So I've been a multi-instrumentalist since age 13.
Is there one call from one performer that would change your mind, and who would that be?
Well, again, I would, if the right situation was there, I would do it. Because I'm not saying I wouldn't. God, who would that be?
This is Paul.
Yeah, except he played bass, so I would he wouldn't.
Oh, that's right. He played
Right.
bass, of
So like
course.
Sting, right? I would love to do that, but he plays bass. So I don't know. I'd have to. I'll think about that in the background and get back to you as the interview goes on. I don't know.
Escape from Block 7. I like it. I mean, at the end where it slows down, it gets pretty about 140. Is that when you were putting that together? And I'm going, oh, are they out? Because in your mind's eye, I'm thinking, did they get out? You know, did they escape? Is that what that music means? Because I don't know instrumental music.
You know, and to your audience, you're referring to the album I did, Action Intensity. Which is all this action adventure music put together, and I'll explain how that album came about. But yes, they got out, but not everybody got away, and that's a death scene. So that music is very dramatic, where you're hearing just through the music. The music's actually the star of the scene, but the person that's not making it, and the person reaching for somebody, they can't get through the obstacle to get out, they don't make it. So it's a death scene. It's a tragic death scene where no one is in control of what's happening. It's beyond their control, and the one guy doesn't make it.
Before you talk about how that project, how the album got going, how do you, and it was, I kept telling myself, don't forget to ask him this. How do you, in your mind's eye, how do you create this? How do you get into the mood? I mean, how does that work for you? What's the process? Because you've got a criteria, you've got a scene or whatever. How does that work?
Well, the inspiration for that can come in so many different ways. I actually just posted a video of when I was working on that project. Sometimes the what's going on in the scene can give you a tempo. Like if you're doing a scene where there's helicopters going, right? There's right. So there you can have some kind of pulsing motion going on there that inspires tempo. Tempo is kind of usually the first thing I come up with, because that's drive. That's you're part of the action, and what you look at the picture and you say, well, what's the tempo for this scene? And sometimes traffic or if you're in a vehicle, that vehicle can give a tempo. What's going on, dialogue? What's the mood? What's the director trying to say? And you don't want to get in the way, because you just underscore for, I would say, 90% of it. You don't want to get in the way. You're just there to enhance the story and bring more colors to the sensory, feel wise, audio wise, sight. You're just feeding all the senses. Yeah. Music's just a incredible vehicle, to another way to do that.
We'll have more from Shem von Schroeck coming up in the next few days. We'll also have bonus clips on our Patreon, which only our Patreon members will see. You can join up. The links are at the very top of the description. Also, if you want to make a donation to the channel, there are links there as well. Make sure you comment on our videos. We read all the comments. Subscribe to our channel, like our video, and share them on social media. I'm John Beaudin. This is Rock History Music.